In 2024, I made over $4 million from a combination of crypto and online business. And in this video, I want to talk about some of the biggest lessons and insights that I've learned on this journey where I made $4 million at the age of 24. So not only was it a decent amount of money, it was at a pretty young age. And if whether you've made millions of dollars already, or you're on the path to making millions of dollars, the lessons and insights I'm going to tell you, you are going to find extremely useful. I honestly wish everything I'm going to tell you in this video, I knew at the beginning of this year. It would have made things so much easier. But regardless, let's get started on the video. 2024 was a very successful year for me, mostly financially. And I have 8 lessons, probably the biggest lessons that I've learned this year about making $4 million, about everything that went into that I think you guys will get a lot of value from. And so let's get straight into the lesson. So the first lesson is basically something that I learned after educating hundreds of mastermind members and showing them how to make money from crypto and sort of tracking the trends of when most people are like joining my communities and when people are not joining my communities, how people are approaching the market and, when they're putting the risk up and when they're putting the risk down. And one of the biggest problems I've noticed with people's portfolios that I've been able to mitigate myself from making this bull run is the idea of like increasing the amount of risk that you take as the markets are going up. And I think this is one of the big reasons why I've been able to do really well this bull run and also be able to keep these profits, because I'm not someone who is putting crazy risk on after the market has shown me that I should be putting the risk on. I've been very vocal about the bull run and how it's going to be coming back and how ETFs are going to be the catalyst for the bull run for over a year now. I've allocated decently heavy to the market back when we were in, what felt like a bear market, and being risk on early, finding meme coins before meme coins were even really fucking popular at all, like Toshi, and allocating to these pretty heavily at these early prices has been what has enabled me to do really well. And a lot of people who haven't had this success are people who have been chasing the market. They've been running up the risk curve as the prices are going up, right? They're waiting for everyone to be making money, prices to be pumping, FOMO to kick in, and for the personal portfolios to be growing before they increase the risk on their portfolio, which doesn't make any sense to me. What I recommend instead of this is that your portfolio, your risk that you take, should be predetermined and unbiased. There should be no bias from what the market is doing. So if you're in the crazy part of a bull run and everything's pumping, you shouldn't let that bias your portfolio allocation, because if you let what the market is doing to bias your sort of risk that you take on the market, you're going to end up adding on tons of risk towards the end when everyone's making money and it feels like you should be taking tons of risk. And you're going to be not taking enough risk when it's the bear market and when you should be allocating at these bargain prices heavily, right? This is what everyone waits for. I look at the signups of members to my mastermind, and the biggest amount of people joining is always near the fucking top every single time. If we look at the Bitcoin price or even the total market cap chart, and we have a look at the 2 most recent sort of crazy periods we had, which was here and here, I look at the mastermind signups that I had for people joining my group, and this is where everyone was joining. This is where we had so many people signing up. For what reason? Because these people are making emotional decisions. They're letting the market pumping or their friends making money, the FOMO they're feeling, dictate their decisions instead of letting the strategy, the objective realization that they need to work alongside someone be what is dictating their decision. These people, instead of here going, maybe, because the bull run's going to start soon, I should probably learn from a pro, right? Instead of people doing that, they go, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I'm not making much money. Daniel's group's been printing. I'm going to join him here, or I'm going to join him at this top. It's like, why? It's not objective, it's not rational, it's not how you should be approaching the market. And it's not only this, it's also how people are viewing their portfolios. So down here, nobody was talking about being all in on meme coins. Nobody was doing that. But up here, everyone loves to be all in on meme coins. In my mastermind, I also asked people, can you send me your risk tolerance out of 10? And down here, the number that they gave out of 10 was lower on average than the number that they give up here. All of a sudden, everyone joining the mastermind is a fucking 9 or 10 risk tolerance out of 10, meaning they're willing to take 9 or 10 out of 10 risk on the portfolio. And I guarantee you the people down here weren't saying the same thing, even though realistically, you would have made way more money from down here than you would from entering here with the same level of risk. People's problem, they let everyone making money, prices pumping, FOMO to kick in, and their personal portfolios growing, dictate the risk that they take in their portfolio. And because I've been able to keep a decent level of risk super early in the bull run, I've been able to do well. Whereas most people, they come into the market late, and that's why they fuck it up. They take on all the risk here when they could have just waited for the market to drop off, add the risk here or add the risk here, and they would have done significantly better. So that's something that people really need to be careful on avoiding. It's a lot of people are having problems with this bull run, at least I've noticed. Now, the second realization I've had after making $4 million is how important it is to work in teams. When I first got into crypto, I was a solo investor. I didn't know anyone, didn't have friends who did crypto. I had one friend who after a year decided to get into it, but he had no idea what he was doing. So it was me and a clueless friend. And I was investing solely based upon the smart people that I was seeing on Twitter talking about fucking different coins, and I just copy trade them basically. And this strategy was really not successful at all. I was taking the solo approach and I was sucking at it. And as time went on, my team expanded. I built a network. I started comparing ideas and sharing information with different people. I got people on payroll who are different analysts for different things. And my income and my net worth grew rapidly because of this. And just to give you an example, in November, so 40 days ago, in the month of November, I spent $200,000 just on like team expenses, different staff that I have. That includes, the 6 millionaire crypto analysts. I work with them to basically generate alpha for people in my mastermind and for my own portfolio. I also run a number of different smaller research teams of people who have less capital, who are in the trenches researching the market. And, this team of 20 plus people that I've got now, all of these things come together, all of these people come together. They've helped me massively in 2 ways. So number one, I'm able to grow my businesses significantly better than I would by myself. And number two, I get access to significantly more alpha than I have ever been able to get access to being a solo researcher or a researcher with a very, very limited network. And so that's the biggest thing I've noticed in terms of like portfolio gains and business growth. It's working in teams. And a few years ago, my businesses that I ran were really basic. It was like one admin, me, and a video editor sometimes. It was like a one-man team, and I was making way less money. And now, obviously, you have to spend money to make money, but you're only able to grow and make $4 million in a year at 24 if you're working in a team. Can you find a single person on the planet who's made $4 million at the age of 24 who doesn't work in a team of highly competent individuals? I don't think you're going to find that. So if you're in your current situation right now, approaching things from a solo perspective, you're a solo employee, working with some other brokies at a company in a 9-to-5 position. So you're sort of working by yourself, or you're self-employed, making 100K a year, or you're investing, but you don't really have a network, or you don't really have a team who helps you research, or you don't have, friends that are also high level who you compare things with. If you don't have the teamwork element, you're only going to be able to go so far, because you as yourself can only do so much as one person. And to give you like a really recent example and a really straightforward example of the idea of working in teams, there's a strategy that we've been following in the mastermind called the TikTok brain rot strategy, which is essentially, and I'm going to talk about this more in my next YouTube video, it's essentially you scroll on TikTok, and when a new meme pops up, you buy a token of that new meme. And this worked really well with Chill Guy, for example. We found this in a mastermind at a 5 million market cap. It went all the way to 500 million. We found another meme, I Understand It Now. We found a Plankton meme. These also did well, and there's a number of others. The reason we were able to find these memes is because we worked as a team in the mastermind where we had hundreds of people, all with TikTok feeds showing them memes. And anytime someone saw a new meme, they'd send it through. We'd go, okay, where's the token? Okay, here's the token. Does it look early? We'd work together to make money from this. Whereas if it was just, imagine me on my phone on TikTok, how many videos can I watch on TikTok in a day before I've sort of ran out of time? Maybe like 50 to 100? Well, if you got 100 people all doing 100 videos a day, that's 10,000 videos. You got 100 times the surface area of luck where you can potentially find new memes. And I found that this teamwork element to business, to investing, to research has just paid off massively. It's been one of the best things I've done this year. And, just another example of this, in the mastermind, we bought Virtual like a week ago, December 24. Today is January 2nd. This was under $3, and it's not like a massive gainer, but this was sort of a recommendation from one of the analysts of the mastermind. And Virtual is now at $5. So it's like a 70%, 80% gain in about a week, right? And I'm not really in AI. I'm not really a big AI guy, but because I've got a team behind it, we're able to work together where some guys are like in the trenches. I'm the guy running the group. and also like looking at which coin makes sense given the research that we're given, also running the social medias. There's different guys doing different things. You're sort of like growing this team, and you're able to make way more money working as a team than by yourself. Because I'm not going to spend all day researching AI. I don't have enough time to keep up with it all. But you have a guy for AI, you have guys for memes, and you're able to make way more money working together. Another point I want to talk about is how doing nothing made me the most of my money from my crypto portfolio side of things. In October 2023, so just over a year ago, I put 150K into Solana at 20 bucks. And it's now at 200 bucks, the price of Solana, which is a 10x. And that made me over $1 million doing literally nothing. I spent 20 minutes logging in, buying Solana, logged out, did nothing for a year, made over $1 million doing nothing. Same thing with Toshi. Logged on, bought Toshi over the course of a day or two, accumulating, went 100x, sold near the top, a lot of it. Did nothing, right? So I look at some of the biggest gainers in my portfolio from a dollar perspective, and I did basically nothing. And then I look at the more active positions that I did, and they, you know, some of them made money, some of them didn't, but they really just were not much in comparison to the big movers in the portfolio. And this just really showed me where crypto is more and more becoming this year and going into next year, a game where you're either super active in the market or you're super passive. And if you're in this like middle ground, you're not active enough to make money from the active side, and you're too active where it affects your ability to be passive. And so, you know, you're either going to be all in 16 hours a day, or you're 3 hours a week doing barely anything. And I look at the guys in my mastermind who have gotten the best results, and it's either the dudes in the trenches who'll print like a 30x off a coin in the trenches that someone shares, or it's the doctor who just followed a couple plays and just hit it massive. Like there's a guy in the mastermind, he made millions. He made over $2 million since he joined. And it was just because he bought Solana and he bought some Toshi and he bought Sui, right? And that's it. He bought a few coins, did nothing, was a doctor, busy, and then printed. And so yeah, the edge is really just in the excess of doing. It's in the just purely being in the trenches, or the lack thereof. And that's why I'm launching a new group called the Meme Coin Syndicate in a few days, which is going to be a group focused on the excess of doing. It's going to be focused on being the 16 hours a day. And the mastermind is more for the 3 hours a week. And so that's what I'm really going to be doing going forward. It's going to be separating the mastermind, like this is the passive group. And if you're looking to be active, go join the active group of, you know, the Meme Coin Syndicate. You either need to be super active or super passive. And if you're in this middle ground, you're going to get destroyed. Now, number 4, this is something that I, in hindsight, wish I did more of. It's a mistake I made. You know, I'm not perfect by any means. Even when you make $4 million, you do make a fuck ton of mistakes. So one of the mistakes I made was basically not understanding that I need to take more profit on intercycle plays. So there's really just 2 coins in my portfolio. There's coins that I intend to hold for an entire bull run or more. So Bitcoin, Solana. And then there's coins that I really only want to hold for a portion of the bull run. So things like meme coins and AI coins and stuff like that. And one of my problems has been that I haven't taken enough profits when I've gone to take profits. I'll take profits and I time the profit taking at the right time. I tend to be a bit conservative with the amount that I'm selling. So for a classic example of this would be Toshi. We bought this at a 2.5 million market cap when it was very new. And, you know, Toshi ran all the way up to a 300 million or more market cap. I took a bunch of profits around here, I think. And you can see like this level that I sold at, it went back above once, right? And then since then, it's basically never gotten above. And I would have been, you know, think about how long the market did nothing for, right? From March last year till December this year. That's like 9 months of price doing nothing. The opportunity cost on holding a large portion of the position in this coin has been massive. And so I just wish that when I sold, I took more profits, right? That's sort of a lesson that I've learned. You know, and obviously I'm still in a decent profit. I still sold like 25% near the top there. I didn't do terribly, but I just could have done a lot better. You know, and what I've learned this year is that meme coins, they have a shorter shelf life than expected. Some memes do tend to outperform over many months, maybe multiple market cycles like Doge, but it's very, very far and few in between. You know, for every giga that you find where it's just constantly making like new all-time highs, there's 10, 20, 30 coins which made an all-time high once for a month and then they're dying off. You can see like something like Giga just continually outperforms. Whereas most coins they have this first pump here and then they die off and that's the end. And then they just sort of underperform forever. You know, another example of one that I should have taken more profits on, even though I did take decent profits on again, is Lucy. Lucy ran in a week from 20 million. We bought it here in the mastermind, ran all the way up to here. Honestly, I could have just sold the entire position here at a 10x in a week and been happy. That's a great return, a 10x, right? But I didn't. And I think I just should be more aggressive on profit taking going forward. So that's a big lesson that I learned. Number 5, it's pretty easy to make money once you have money. So when I think about how hard it was to make my first million, it was really hard. I had to try to make money from crypto for like 4 years, 5 years-ish, around that region. And it was hard. I was losing tons of money. The whole experience was like swimming against the rip in the ocean, trying to get to shore. And it was just dragging me out. It was like a 4 or 5 year battle just to finally get that first million. And then I think about how easy it was to make money this year. It was so much easier. And I'm like, God damn, I grinded so hard for that first one. And then I did 4 of them in a year. So I made 4 times the money and 5 times the speed. So essentially 20 times quicker. And it's just insane. And I think about making money this year and it was basically on autopilot. The way that I've been making money has been pretty much the same this whole time. It's been building online businesses and investing in crypto. And after doing it for like 7 years, investing and building businesses for like 4 or 5 years, the businesses are the same. The investing's the same. It's really like autopilot. Nothing's really that different. Everything that I need to do to make money, I've been doing for years. It's like when you watch a surfer or a basketball player or whatever who's been doing it for years and they're like mastered the game. It's effortless. They make it look easy. To them, it is pretty fucking easy, but you know, things don't look easy unless they are relatively easy for them to do. I think about when I go surfing, people are like, wow, how did you do that? That must be so hard. It's like, well, no, it's like pretty easy because you've done it so many times before. And I realized it's the same thing with money. Obviously, it took a lot of work. I had to spend like 200K in a month on staff. You know, there's a lot to it, but it wasn't like there was some high chance of failure. Like when most people make their first million or they make their first business, there's like a 90% chance or whatever, 80% chance that they fail. Once you've made your first mill, you know how to make money, you know all the different things. Pretty straightforward. There's basically hard to fail. You know, it might still require a lot of work, but it becomes way harder to fail. And as well as this, like when you have your first million, right, you can just take that and you can allocate to some high upside coins. You don't need to make a 20x on your money to make another million. You can just double your money, right? So you can allocate to coins, get lower returns and still make lots of money. You can almost like force businesses to succeed when you have money because you're able to, through self-funding, basically like kickstart the engine of the business. Like, for example, you might have a business that you know is going to work, but you need $50,000 of samples from the manufacturer so that you can test the samples and get the product finalized. They might have a minimum batch requirement of $50,000 of the product or something. You know the business is going to work. You also need 10K for ads. If you can just put 60K into it, then you're set. So that's another advantage of capital too. And another one is it buys you time freedom to pursue what you want to do. So maybe it wasn't necessarily like 2024, but I know in like 2022, I was still doing like online sales work. And I was also doing at one point a telemarketing gig. And that took up 20, 30 hours of my time a week that I could have been spending on my business. But because I didn't have enough money, right? Because I hadn't gotten close to my first mill yet. It was 2022, maybe 2021. You know, I didn't have the full-time freedom to pursue the higher leverage tasks of making money. But once you got your first mill, boom, you bought all your time back. You now have your whole day to focus on money, essentially. Now, not only when you make your first mill, if you got $1 million, but you've also got $1 million worth of network, leverage, skills, intuition, and experience. When you made your first mill, think about all the other rich dudes that you know within your network. Think about all the people you could meet just being able to say that you run a 7-figure ecom business. Think about all the people they know that you can get connected to once you meet them. Your network makes it near impossible to ever be poor again because there are people who now know that you're capable of making money and they will give you opportunities because they know that you're capable. And also opportunities are given on proximity basis, not a skill basis. So just by you having a network, opportunities will just randomly pop up because you're the closest possible guy with the set of skills that they want to build that business. And so just purely through having $1 million network from making $1 million, because to make $1 million, you do need $1 million network, right? To hire the right people, to do all these different things. You know, you can easily run it back or you can easily make more. Leverage, right? You have skills that people will pay a lot of money for and people trust you. They might trust you more than someone they don't know. And this gives you leverage, right? And there's other ways you can get leverage too. Skills. To make the million, you had to have a skill, clearly something in demand. That skill doesn't just disappear. That sticks with you potentially for a lifetime. Investing is a lifetime skill. Your body could die. You could just be a brain floating in a tank. As long as you have eyesight, you can talk, you can sell yourself. You could be an investor still. You could be like the Futurama living out of the tank. bank, and you can still make money as an investor because you have the knowledge up here. The skill, right? So skills are something that can't be taken away from you. Intuition, you can just know a good business opportunity when you see one. You can know a good investment when you see one. And experience, speaks for itself. And a metaphor of how I would view it, how it's felt at least for me, is that making your first milli is like hitting a hard PR on bench press. Like imagine like whatever your PR is and hitting it, and then making the millions after that, second, third, whatever it is, basically just re-hitting the same PR. You're not doing anything that different, right? If you made a mil and now you're going from 1 to 2 mil, it's the same PR. It's the same million, you're just doing it again. It's the same PR, you're just hitting it again. And so as long as you're consistent, you're going to be able to keep hitting that PR many, many times. Now, if you try to aim for something more, let's say instead of making 1 mil in a year, you make 20 mil in a year, you're obviously going to have to lift heavier because it's a different skill set to do that than just making 1 extra mil. And so I guess the summary of like why this would be relevant for you guys is that if you haven't made your first mil yet and you're seeing all these young guys printing, just understand that this is why it looks easy for them and why it's hard for you, because you haven't gotten to this position yet where you possess these things. And if you're not quite there, don't give up, because it will come with time. Once you got the first mil out of the way, it becomes a lot easier. So just stick around for the first one. Even your first 10K a month, if you can get there, then that's going to really help you, because the start is the hardest point. Now, the 6th lesson I've learned is that I wish I made more preparations for the next level of wealth before I got there. And that's a lesson for you guys. You should be making preparations for the next level before you even get there. So with making the money that I made this year, I've had to spend a lot of time dealing with new problems. These new problems are mostly around taxation and legal problems. So, I grew up in Australia. Australia has just fucked taxes. So if I'm going to continue to be doing really well, I want to move out of Oz because I do not want to be getting destroyed by the tax man. And so I put in place a plan, spent like $60K US to get a full tax plan built. And I left Australia as a tax resident. But when I left, there was an exit tax. And the exit tax was on a decent percentage of my net worth. They say, look, if you want to leave Australia, that's fine. But whatever you're leaving with, we're taking fucking a big chunk of it. And so that was a very expensive exit. And I wish I had just exited sooner. If you believe in yourself that you're going to make money, then it would make sense that you prepare for that next level before you get there, because it's just going to be easier to handle that next level once you're there. It's also going to save you money, right? If I had left Australia, let's say in 2023, in the start of the year, I would have saved so much money on the exit tax, and I still would have had enough money to move out. So that's just something to keep in mind for you future millionaires. Think about, what country are you in? Do they have an exit tax? Because a lot of people, they message me like, oh, Daniel, yeah, so I'm in Australia. I'm just going to make 3 million this bull run, and then I'm going to leave because I'm going to save money on taxes. Like, bro, the taxes you pay on the net worth you have when you leave. If you want to leave, do it now. You're also going to make money way easier if you move out of the country, because you're going to surround yourself in better circles. You're going to start networking more. If you leave Australia, things are going to be so much better for you. You may as well just do it today. And, the other side of the equation is the legal issues. So, as you make more money, you start getting on more radars. You start getting noticed by more people. People start to want to use you more. You have more on the line, more people to keep happy. There's a lot of potential legal problems that can come up. Think about all the divorce rapes that highly successful rich people go through, getting destroyed by their wives. Or think about when you make a company that takes on a giant and they sue you to death, with lawsuits that they know they're not going to win, but they just want to beat you in the money battle. Or all these different examples, right? This is things that start to go wrong when you start to get on bigger radars. And so I recommend for anyone listening to this, you should get the legal side of things fixed before you get to that next level, if you think you're going to get there, because it'll save you a lot of headache and stress. Number 7, the amount of money that you can make is directly proportional to the amount of stress that you can handle and the problems that you can solve. So in April of 2025, I'm taking my family to Japan. And it's funny because that's like 5 months away, and my family's already stressing about the train ticket that they're going to have to organize from Tokyo to Kyoto, because their friends said, oh, it might be hard to book a ticket. You might want to book one. And they're already like spending so much mental energy stressing about how to book a ticket in 5 months in advance. They can barely handle the stress of this tiny task. And I think about any time
outside of this where little things would go wrong, not just my family, but just normal people in general, there's only so much stress that they can handle. They have a very minimal stress tolerance. And I think to myself, okay, imagine these people were given multiple businesses, a $7 million crypto portfolio, living full-time out of Airbnbs, having no actual house, traveling the world, getting sued, endless banking problems with the no tax setup, with banks blowing up in America and Dubai, a team of 20 plus people to manage, spending $200K in a month on staff expenses. And how would they be able to handle that? And the answer is they wouldn't. Most people can't handle that. And if you're not going to be able to handle what comes with that next level of wealth, you're never going to get there. So my family, that's nothing wrong with their ability to handle stress. That's totally fine. Everyone's different. But if people are ever wondering why certain people make money and why others don't, it has a lot to do with how much stress that you can handle. And it also has to do with how much problems you can solve. The Japan ticket problem, I could solve that in about 10 minutes. What would I do? I would message my travel agent and I would say to her, book us 4 tickets on this day going from Tokyo to Kyoto, and that's the only thing I would do. My mom or my dad, it would be like, okay, let's spend hours looking into the tickets, umming and ahhing about if we want to book it, stressing about it, and then let's get distracted on Instagram reels, and then I'll look at it in 3 days from now, and then try to do it again, and then get distracted because dinner's ready, or I'm cooking dinner and I need to go back to the fucking kettle, and then, forgot it. 3 days later, I go to book it. And then it's, which ticket do I do? Oh, it's too hard. Okay, I'm going to go do it in a few days from now. Before you know it, 2 weeks has passed, no tickets booked. You've wasted 7 hours looking for a ticket, right? How are you ever going to scale to having multiple businesses and making $4 million in a year if it takes you 7 hours to book a fucking train ticket? It would never happen. And so for most people, these levels of success they aim for would never happen because they get so caught up on the little shit, but they never get the time to focus on the big shit that actually matters. And in business, you're really just in the business of solving problems for people. When you go to buy anything from any business, you are buying a solution to a problem. When you go to a massage center, you are sore. You want to get rid of pain. You pay the money, they fix you, right? Problem solved. Every business is a problem solving interaction. And so if you're in the business of making money as a business owner, you are in the business of solving people's problems at scale. And if you can't even solve the problem of a fucking train ticket 6 months from now, you are not going to solve any person's problem in a business that you want to build. And so that is why business is a game of stress tolerance and problem solving, because that's what you're getting paid for. How much stress can you take on? How many problems can you solve? And if you can do those two things very effectively, you're going to make a lot of money. Think about someone like Elon Musk, world's most innovative companies he runs. He has multiple children, I think with multiple ladies potentially. He travels the world. He helped Trump get voted in. He ran a whole fucking campaign for him. CEO of one of the largest social medias, manages thousands of staff, literally building fucking spaceships. He's top ranked on one of these video games as well. I forgot which one. Regularly being one of the most famous people in the world by going on regular public media appearances. And he's just a totally chill dude. I see people getting more stressed over deciding what they want to eat for lunch or worried about anxiety of leaving the house than this dude worries about being the richest man in the world running his company. So it's bro, there's just different levels to the fucking game. And I'm not even really that high up. This is simple shit. This is not stressful. This is fucking stressful and the dude's chill. So this is what I've learned after making all this money. It's really the only reason I can make 4 million at 24 is I'm pretty good at solving problems for people and I'm pretty good at handling stress. Because when I think about it, none of the shit that I do here is really that stressful. You know what actually gets me stressed? Being hungry, driving and taking a wrong turn and seeing on the map, Google Maps thing, it adds 5 minutes to the travel time. That shit gets me stressed. But running all this shit, give me $50 million. No, not stressful. Not stressful at all. Money's not stressful. But that's just me personally, right? And that's why I'm able to run it up at 24 years old, because it's really not that fucking stressful. And lesson number 8, negative fuel only lasts so long. Once you make money, you need to change what motivates you and what fuel you're using. So when you think about it, right, you look at most of the entrepreneurs, you look at most of the content around getting into the entrepreneurial space, you'll see a bunch of people talking about the grind, the hustle, proving people wrong, proving your parents wrong, breaking generational wealth curses, driving that car, impressing people, getting respect. All these things are essentially forms of negative fuel. These are sources of motivation that come from a negative place. It's a negative experience that you've had in your past which has triggered an emotion that gives you motivation from a negative standpoint, right? And pretty much every entrepreneur in the beginning of their journey is getting motivated from negative fuel. Think about all the people on Money Twitter. Look at it through the lens of what fuel source is this person talking from. And you can see when people talk, you can look at the meaning and the context behind their words, and you can think to yourself and go, oh, this guy actually is getting motivated from a negative place. Think about when you see like an Instagram reel and it's like, go 6 months rogue and come back unrecognizable. They will never look at you the same, right? What source of fuel is that motivation inspiring people from? It's inspiring people from the negative place of being misunderstood, of being the underdog, of being looked down upon, of having something to prove. And sure, like when you are trying to make money, most people go to make money and achieve most big things in life because they had a shit childhood or they struggled. They had a poor upbringing. Something went wrong. Girls didn't like them. They didn't get validation from women, whatever it is, right? And at the beginning of your journey, you need to tap into this. You need to double down and lean into the things that hurt you, of the negative fuel that drives you. Lean into it, right? Really try to fucking like use that, because that's really the only fuel that you have at the beginning of your journey. When I look at all the friends that really never really went on to achieve much, not much really went wrong in their life. They didn't have much fuel in the gas tank. And if you don't have much fuel in the gas tank, you're not going to drive very far, right? All the entrepreneurs I know who are fucking crushing it, they have an infinite fuel tank of negative fuel, at least for a period of their journey. And so the lesson here is not just that you need negative fuel. It's also like this fuel isn't always sustainable, because what happens is, right, this fuel drives you and you achieve all your goals. You're no longer the underdog. People respect them. They get the goals they dreamed of, and now their source of fuel runs dry. Once you get rid of the things that you once tried to run away from, once you've outran them, you don't need to run anymore. And this is where people's businesses tend to die off. They get complacent, they get lazy, and they wonder what happened. And to a certain degree, I was motivated by negative fuel. That's why I've gone on to achieve all these things. When I was in high school, I was not the popular kid. I wasn't the nerdy kid, but I wasn't the popular kid. I was shy. And my parents definitely didn't like the idea of crypto. No one believed in it. Everyone gave me shit about it. And, you know, a number of different like negative fuels, maybe smaller than those ones. And they compound over a lifetime, and they give you the fuel that you need to achieve success. And if I had a more comfortable upbringing, let's say my parents believed in me of what I was doing with crypto, they thought I could achieve big things, I might not have gone on to achieve those things, because I wouldn't have had the fuel. They would have emptied the gas tank, but they filled it up for me instead. And that's why I'm so grateful for that. And that's what happens to a lot of people. The gas tank gets empty, they run out of fuel, and then they're fucked. Where they went wrong is the only thing that kept them going was running away from their problems. But to keep pushing after you've made it, your motivation needs to transcend the negative and tap into positive sources of fuel. So, you know, it's good and all to get your first 100K a month from negative fuel. But once you get there, if you want to keep going, you have to be building this positive place. You need to be focused on like, how am I going to leave a legacy? How am I going to provide for those around me? How am I going to pursue genuine passions? You know, am I going to be able to do this for just purely the love of the game and winning? Am I just like bored? I need stimulus. I need things to work on. I like doing big things. I like working with other people. You know, these are all like places of like positive fuel. Maybe not as much like boredom, but like, you know, this is generally speaking like a positive source of fuel. And this is sustainable. This is like the difference between running off of McDonald's or like a really healthy lunch. The McDonald's, you're going to get hungry very quickly. It doesn't leave you very satiated. Whereas if you have a proper meal with steak, you know, healthy carbs or whatever, it's going to leave you full, and it's going to be a more sustainable thing that you can eat and last longer from. And that's what this is like the healthy meal. And this is what you need to pivot to over time. And this is what I've had to tap into this year, right? I got to 100K a month this year. I think maybe even late the year before. And, you know, all those problems that I had, most of them have gone away. And luckily, I understood this concept of knowing what I'm motivated by. And luckily, I love crypto for reasons beyond just fixing these problems, getting motivated from the position of negative stuff. I really, on this list of things, I love the game of building businesses. I'm genuinely passionate about the things that I do. It's not just for money. I like winning. I like competing. I honestly get bored pretty easily. So I like working on things. I like stimulus. You know, it's like an addiction. Making money is like addicting. You know, building things is addicting. I like doing big things. I like working in teams. I like providing for those around me. You know, I like how I can employ my friends and have them come along for the journey. I like how I can take my family on holidays. Leaving a legacy, don't really give a fuck about, but some people, that's a motivator. And that's what I've had to tap into. And that's why I can keep going and transcend beyond the 100K a month hustler who thinks the world is against him. So that's the end of the video. Hope you learned something about making $4 million at 24. Hopefully this was useful for you. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.